here at Collector's Corner, presented to you by Palmetto Autographs, and I have got Buff the Stuff Bagwell.
Yes, you do.
Buff, how you doing, man? You enjoying your day?
I'm doing great, man. Here in Charleston, just having a good time.
Good. I saw you had a big line out there. You've been a busy man.
I have been. It was I said a little earlier to the fan before, we didn't get to Charleston very much. We were a Southeast company, but Columbia, Augusta, Savannah, we wasn't at Charleston a whole lot of times. So I think that they were eager to see a good old WCW Buff Bagwell here.
That's right. They love you out here, Buff.
I love it.
So I guess with the popularity of the Vice series, Who Killed WCW, do you have an opinion? I mean, everybody wants to voice theirs. What's Buff Bagwell's opinion on Who Killed WCW?
Well, I saw that on Vice, and first thing I was amazed at, why wasn't I on it? I was there the whole 10 years. My God, I know where the bodies are buried, But my true honest answer is, there's no who killed. It has to be more than one person, of course. I think they try to blame it on Bischoff or Russo, and I love Eric Bischoff, and I really liked Vince Russo, and I don't think no one certain person's to blame. I do think it was a combination of some things, but one of them is that what happened. I remember when Vince came in, this was something that I thought was going to be really cool that he set out, and he had a meeting with every one of the top guys, and I was considered a top guy by Vince anyway, Vince Russo. And so when he set me down, his main plan was to not do what all the other promoters for WCW had done. He did not want to ever be on TV.
Right.
And it sounded like a great idea. I mean, not that was the blame, I don't think, but why not? That sounds good. He's like, keep the television about the stars, make it about the stars. So when he first came on TV, he was not on camera, and the Harris brothers did all of his notes and stuff. I don't remember how long it was, but it wasn't very long.
Not long enough.
That he was the world champion. So that's just crazy what happened. But again, is that the reason for the fall? I don't think so, but I do think it has a big part to do with it. I think that the storylines got a little crazy, and
that's an understatement.
Yeah, Judy Bagwell on a pole match, but it wasn't a pole; it was a forklift.
Yeah,
that one thing alone tells me that there's confusion in the locker room. There's confusion with the fans.
Right.
So again, just kind of crazy booking, and Goldberg losing to Dave Arquette, and my mother being one half of the World Tag Team Champions. It was crazy. So I just don't think there's one thing to blame, but I think there was several, and it was just a bad thing that happened, though.
Let's blame AOL. Let's blame Time Warner.
That's a good one. It's a good one. Brad Siegel was the president, and he definitely did not like Buff Bagwell.
That's who we're going to blame.
Yes, let's do it.
So with WCW going out of business, obviously you transitioned to the WWF. Yeah. As short-lived as it was, what do you think just didn't click, and why it didn't pan out for you in WWF?
I really don't know, man. I went in there with high hopes. Everybody was nervous and scared, but when you're Buff Bagwell with a merger, you're in a pretty good seat, I think. You're in a pretty good situation. And, I remember the night that it happened, I was driving home, and my dad called me and mentioned that Vince McMahon said my name. Now, I didn't realize how big of a thing that was, but when I talked to guys that knew Vince, like Lex Luger and Sting and Ric Flair, those guys were like, listen, Bagwell, that's a big deal.
Right.
Vince just don't happen to say your name.
Right.
He that means something. So I do think that I was figured in. I was one of the first ones signed. I came from WCW. I lost about $100,000 to join. To go in, because I could have sat home and made the money. I don't know exactly how much money it was, but it was between 60 and 150 that I just said, look, take it. You don't pay me this. I'll sign right now.
Right.
My agent thought it was a great idea. He goes, Mark, that was a great idea. He goes, with the heat you got. He goes, who gave you that idea? And I said, I thought of it myself. He goes, great idea. He goes, let's do it. So he did all the paperwork for me. And then somehow or another, bro, I was the first one gone, and no warning, no reasoning. So it was a bad situation that supposedly a bad match and a mother calling got blamed. I never heard those things said to me, but that's the rumor that got out. And so, long story short, the next 20 years, my glory days were under heavy sedation in high school gyms instead of being on, live television. So it was a very sad thing that happened, but one that I'm glad of now and see that I'm making the best of it.
Absolutely, and I want to ask you about that. I also want to ask you about the fact that your mom calling is a rumor that, goes around why you didn't work out, but also people point to the fight between you and Shane Helms. And everybody hears Shane Helms' side of the story. What's your side? How did that go down?
Well, first of all, every time I tell this story, Shane seems to get mad about it. I don't know why. I tell the truth. And again, you got to realize, guys, this is 24 years ago. That's a long time, man. But I just know when you go with just the facts of I know I slapped him and I know I had 20 staples in my head. Well, there ain't too many ways to go with that story.
You can fill in the blanks,
There ain't too many ways to go with it, but it was a day at the gym that we had a really good workout. That the way I remember it, we had a really good workout, and somehow I remember it was a very positive day, but I remember Shane didn't do anything that day in the ring. I didn't say anything about it. He had said something to me first, and it was pretty harsh, I remember, but I can't remember exactly what it was, and I came back with something light. And he came back with, well, at least I'm not a drug addict. And I was like, wow, brother. So then I did. It was very stiff. So I threw a little, Thuggathane Helms on him. And that irated him. And I said, look, bro, let's do this. Let's either drop it or I can just knock your teeth down your throat. And he chose to get his teeth knocked down his throat. So I slapped him. And as soon as I slapped him, I went, God dang, Bagwell, you've done it again. You're going to be in trouble again. Man, what have you done? As I'm walking off, man, wham, I get hit like a ton of bricks. And supposedly, I didn't know it, but he had the whole time that all happened, he had a frozen brick, a water bottle frozen under his shirt. Not hiding it on purpose. It was on an ace bandage.
Yeah, I think he said he was nursing a shoulder injury.
It was a shoulder or rib or something. I always told rib.
Yeah.
You know how that goes.
Yeah.
So, and again, if it was shoulder, I would have seen it. So I really think it may have been a rib. I didn't see it.
Right.
And as I'm walking off, wham, he took the bottle out and hit me. And, and I bled profusely. And I remember instantly, Johnny Ace and Fit Finley, showed up. And they're like, what happened? What happened? And I'll never forget this as long as I live. When I looked, it was 8 or 9 sets of eyes. Billy Kidman's, Stasiak's, Hugh Morris, Canyon's. These eyes I'm seeing, and their eyes are going, don't say it.
Kayfabe, brother. Kayfabe.
Kayfabe this, Bagwell, please. I mean, they were screaming it out of their eyes, and so I did. I said, I slipped. And Johnny goes, you what? I said, Johnny, I was coming out of the ring, and I fell. Keep in mind, brother, at this junction, Buff Bagwell had a job.
Right.
There's no doubt.
Right.
I mean, I was worried about it, but they wasn't. They knew that Buff had a spot.
Right.
So Shane's worried about he's hit the Messiah.
Right.
I mean, he's hit Buff Bagwell, bro.
Right.
So he's worried about it. And I'm sorry. I'm the one that hit you first. Don't worry about it. So I didn't tell them nothing.
Right.
I flew home. Mark Jindrak is an eyewitness of this. He took me to my hotel, and he helped me put a towel on my head. And that room looked like 17 people got murdered in it. When your head's bleeding, you're trying to pack a bag. I mean, it was blood everywhere. We finally got the towel on and got a hat on me, so I got on that plane. Now, 9/11 hadn't happened yet.
Right.
Or this would have never happened.
Right, yeah.
So I got on that plane with a little blood showing, and we took off. By the time we landed, that whole towel was soaked. I had a doctor waiting on me, straight to the hospital, 20 staples in my head. I go to the next TV taping, And the first person I see is Shane Helms, and he's with the Hardy Boys, and I go, "Hey, Shane," and he don't speak to me.
Oh.
And I went straight to Johnny Ace and told him the truth. I said,
right.
"Brother, you got to hear what happened."
Yep.
I told Johnny the truth. We all came together, shook hands, all that. It was the same night I wrestled Booker T.
And we unfortunately
And
know
we know
how
the rest.
it ended. Yeah.
Game over.
So I assume you and Shane have kind of made amends since
Yeah,
then?
we got pictures of him behind me, and I mean, it's to me, it was just funny. But I told the story on Dark Side, and supposedly he's
Got hot all
up in
over
arms,
again.
yeah, all up in arms about it. But I don't know why he got again a slap and staples. You fill in the blanks.
So I guess I know you got to go, Buff. So I'm gonna leave you with this. You said something about being sedated back.
Yeah.
That's your legacy. When did you know you can't get out of this one alone? You need help, and you tapped out. And I mean, you hooked up with DDP, and maybe you started to pull the nose up before DDP. But when did you know, like, man, I got to pull the nose up on this thing?
I don't think I did know. I don't think. Looking back on it, it was when I had my car wreck. So August of 2020 is when I had my bad car wreck behind Cumberland Mall. And I ran through a MARTA bus station building, a MARTA bus station men's and women's bathroom. I caved the whole building in.
Jesus.
And somehow or another, nobody was in it or they would have been dead. And I mean, I should be in prison. You know, you got guys that will say I should be dead or they should be dead, and there's a great story. Yeah, I'm one of those stories that I should be dead, but there is no doubt that somebody should have died that day, and I should have, without that, I definitely should have been in prison. One of those should have came out of that, and it didn't. Ultimately, that finally got me sober by doing that. By me finally hurting myself is what got me sober, but it wasn't without a big nudge from Dallas and my niece, Jonna.
Thank God. Well, with that said, Buff, I want to thank you for taking the time with
brother.
us. We're glad you pulled the nose up
Yes,
on it, man.
yes.
You're a lot of our childhood.
Absolutely.
And I mean, still to this day, you're still wrestling now, right?
Yes.
Doing a little something
Still
here
doing
and
a
there.
little here and there.
Sign some autographs, make that money, brother.
Yes, brother.
NWO for life, right?
For life. Boom.
Thank you, buddy.
Take care, guys.
If you haven't liked or subscribed, you're going to be joking me.